Welcome back to Desertwood Days, and I am here with Mr. Sean Reavie. Welcome, Sean.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Such a pleasure, such a pleasure. Sean, you're the founder and owner of Put on the Cape, a foundation for hope.
Yes, ma'am.
Could you give us a little bio on this organization?
Put on the Cape a Foundation for Hope. It really started organically, which is why it's working. It is an organization that raises both money and gift in kind for child crisis centers throughout Arizona. We support 8 of those and 3 in Michigan.
Oh,
And we use superhero mythology to empower abused children to recovery. And we also use it as a way to empower, uplift, and educate the community on exactly what goes on in a child crisis center. Because it's not a very comfortable topic.
right. Of course.
No one wants to talk about it. It's a terrible thing that happens to children. And what we've done is we've married it to a topic that people really enjoy and run toward, and that is the superhero genre.
Okay.
And we use professionally costumed actors and actresses to portray superheroes with movie quality costumes.
Oh.
And people see Batman and Captain America, and what are you guys doing? And then we tell them what
So
we're
that's
doing.
your opportunity to speak on it.
Right. That's that we've already empowered them to come forward, and now
Yes.
we're educating them. And what we hope that does is it uplifts the community to support the centers within their communities, because all of our communities have their own child crisis center where victims of physical abuse and sexual violence go for help.
Okay. So, tell us about the name Put on the Cape.
Put on the Cape is something, a cape could be anything, quite honestly. For me as a child, it was a bath towel or a sheet that I would put on with clothespins, and instantly I'm a superhero. And you'd run around, it's flapping behind you, and you feel heroic. So there's some meaning to that word, put on the cape. It's a call to action. It tells people, put on a cape, be a hero to a child who desperately needs a hero. And also then to transfer that cape to that little child and let them know that this terrible thing that's happened to them, it's not the end. And it shouldn't define them. And we teach them through our advocacy center partners how to overcome that abuse and that broken spirit and become heroic. And so it serves multiple purposes.
It's funny how you say that. Anything can be a part of your to make you a superhero.
Exactly.
I remember growing up, my brother, he always carried a stick. He always had a stick. It'd be a little limpy stick, or he always had a stick and doing his little karate moves and everything with. Like, dude.
Yeah, the imagination of children is what makes it work, because the concept is, if we go to a mall and see a guy in a bad Santa suit, that's not Santa Claus. You know what that kid sees? He sees Santa Claus.
Yes.
And when he sees Batman and Captain America and Wonder Woman and Supergirl, they are that hero to that child. And that's why we have so much resonance with what we do, because the adults think it's pretty cool too.
Yes, they do.
They really do.
I'm sure they do. Could you tell us why Sean Reavie started this organization?
I can. And as I mentioned, it came about rather organically and out of desperation. I call it a happy accident. I spent 6 years as a crimes against children detective.
Oh.
I investigated more than 1,000 cases of physical abuse and sexual violence against children.
Wow.
And when a child discloses abuse, they go to one of those child crisis centers. Within that child crisis center are forensic pediatricians, mental health specialists, teams of highly trained detectives, interviewers, victims advocates, and we'd even have a representative from the county attorney's office there if we needed warrants, if we needed to know that the charges we're going for are adequate. And when we interview a child who's been profoundly abused, as I was that day, a 9-year-old boy that had been nearly beaten to death. And the problem I was having was a man who did that to him was my size. And he would not talk to me. And he was in the fetal position and would barely look up and just kind of rocking because he's holding it in. And I was running out of time because we don't have infinite time to talk to these children. So I remember back to my childhood, which was not glorious, what I would do to feel better. I would sit in my closet and hide and read Spider-Man comic books. So I just asked him out of desperation, who's your favorite superhero? And the change in that child was instant. It didn't roll in him. He bolted up and just screamed,
forgot
Iron
about
Man.
everything.
Yeah. And then I said, why do you like Iron Man? And he's running around the room doing Iron Man things.
Oh.
And I told him I love Spider-Man. And we talked about Avengers Part 2 and Ant-Man. They had just come out. This was July of 2015. And once he sat down, still excited, I'm like, that is so fun, little buddy. But, I heard something might have happened to you. And he said, yeah. I'm like, well, why don't you tell me all about it? And now he trusted me. And he did tell me. And I was able to make an arrest. But as he left, he was jumping up and down, excited still about Iron Man. And it broke my heart that I had nothing to give him. Not an Iron Man action figure, not a superhero t-shirt. So he could take that empowerment outside with him. And I immediately went to my boss and said, I want to do a fundraiser to have people donate action figures and t-shirts with superheroes on them. And that's how all this started. 7 years ago now. So that's how it started.
Isn't that amazing that, I'm going to bring up that word I called the buzzword earlier, storytelling has created such a safe place for our young people, for all of us, that a storytelling, creating something like the Avengers or something, those types of shows, created a space for children to feel safe for someone to protect them. It
did, because they immersed themselves in that world. Right. If they were just to hold baby Groot, for example, they would feel part of the Guardians of the Galaxy. If they held Captain America's shield, they are now Captain America. Yeah. And that's the simplistic way a child thinks. We overcomplicate things as adults. We really do. But that was such a simple moment. That's with because that child.
we forget how to play and have fun.
We do. And we should all do that.
Yes.
Whether you're playing a guitar, you're writing your thoughts in a journal, whether you're just creating something organic, just to make other people feel strong and powerful.
Right. That's awesome. That's a beautiful story. Even with all the pain and everything else that went along, that's a beautiful story. The outcome, you being able to help the children, not just because you helped them with solving the crime, but to make that child feel so good for a few moments.
Indeed, because we only had them for a few moments.
Yeah.
Once a victimized child leaves us, it goes to the victim's advocates. It goes to the court. It goes to all these other places, and we never see them again.
Superhero September. Tell us about this event.
Superhero September stemmed from that interview with that little boy. This was in late July, early August, and we were wondering how we could apply this. So I talked to the director of the center, and she said, we're looking for a new promotion to do in the fall. And so Superhero September was September 1st, 2015. It was at 6 a.m. because it was a work day. And I was told, just be out of the street by 7:30. And we had the George Barris replica Batmobile show up with Batman and Batgirl in the car. And we had all Phoenix Police and Fire dressed in essentially Halloween costumes as superheroes. And TV showed up. And it was only supposed to be a one-time thing. We raised a few $100. I thought, it's like, wow, this really worked. And so we were on TV. It was cool. We had nothing but all the detectives of all the different, the domestic violence, sexual assault, and the child crimes victims were all there in superhero shirts. And dogs dressed as superheroes, the therapy dogs that we have. And it just went over well with people.
You know what I like to add, just think of, with the stressful jobs that they are all in, just how much relief this is for the officers, the firefighters themselves also. So you're not only doing for the children, you're doing for your team members that you work with.
It's cathartic.
Yes.
Because it was for me, because investigating crimes of that nature, it takes a lot out of you. It darkens your soul a lot. But that day, the electricity was unbelievable. So that one event is going to be one and done until we got a call from a Target store manager, Target South Mountain, Jen Trevor. And she saw us on TV, said, I want to give you guys a gift card to come here and shop for the kids. Oh. And I brought 2 superheroes with me. And that began the most successful event of our history, the superhero shopping spree. Now, going into our 8th year, we've purchased easily more than $100,000 of items, and we attach our advocacy center partners to it. So Superhero September started as one event for one child center that has now turned into our Super Bowl. That September, we have our golf tournament, we have our superhero shopping sprees, and we attach now 8 different child centers, from Chandler all the way over to Avondale.
How do you select the child centers? Are these private centers or are these state county? I mean, how do you select your centers that you're working with?
Say, for example, City of Chandler has their own center, City of Scottsdale, Glendale, Surprise, Avondale, Buckeye, Goodyear use the Southwest Family Advocacy Center. So already being a special victims unit detective, I just reached out to them,
to the ones
to
that
their
you knew.
directors and said, hey, we're growing. The one we're working with now had to build new rooms to hold all the donations. They're full.
Oh,
Would you
okay.
mind if we did this for you? And they're like, yeah. So all of our events are attached to a center. They come.
Okay.
Our superheroes are there. And the seventh superhero shopping spree in Target, we spent $12,000 between two centers.
Wow.
They all came. They took everything with them back to their center. And so the transparency with our group is amazing because we don't take it. We get it for people to have.
Of course.
And I give, the big fake checks. We always give those away, and then the real checks. So they take all that with them, and I do that live on Facebook. And so those centers now are a vital component to what we do because I'll reach out to the citizens of Chandler and say, this event's for your center.
Right.
Attach a Network for Good fundraiser to it.
Pulls other. So Sean, we've been talking about Put on the Cape, a Foundation for Hope. You brought your logo, which I think is amazing.
Thank you.
I love it. Can you just tell us a little bit about this, your mindset when creating this?
Well, looking at that little child running happily with a flapping cape behind him, that cape could be anything. It could be a towel, it could be a sheet, but the whole idea is to show that child in a moment of empowerment, moving forward. When I was growing up, I had few friends, and I created a friend. His name was Herbie. That's Herbie.
Oh.
That's what the story of my logo is. It's just a carefree child running and playing like all children should.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, these victims that we support, someone's taken that childhood right away from them.
Right.
So we want to make them feel like that again,
Yes.
heroic and off to save someone.
Right.
And that's the story behind the Put on the Cape logo, which is trademarked federally and it's all over the place, which makes me very happy.
I like to ask without giving any pertinent information that you can't give out. Can you tell us about, is there a memorable moment, someone that you've gone to an event and met and you may have reached back out to them later and they're just doing awesome?
Yes. During our third or fourth year, we were running, like one of the TV stations was running a live feed and people were commenting on it. And a person posted, this organization saved my life. And so we immediately reached out to her and she came to the event and had been abused as a child, sexually abused. And she was at a crossroads in her life and she came across us. And she's now an attorney, a U.S. Marine. And it's just a great feeling to know that we've impacted somebody that strongly.
Right.
And another family whom we just named our Volunteers of the Year, the mom reached out to me when they were in therapy for her son who had been sexually abused. He was only 3. And they became super volunteers for us. And she's been interviewed on radio and saying, Put on the Cape saved our family because it gave us something to hold on to. And now her son he dresses up as a superhero for every event. Right. And they're there all the time. And you can just see the happiness exuding from them. And I just say, we did that.
Well, we definitely need.
We did that.
We definitely need you guys to keep doing what you're doing out there.
We're fighting.
We definitely need you to.
We are definitely doing it.
Sean, before I get to these other questions, I want to ask you, who's this little guy?
That's Baby Groot from the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Okay, he just thought he'd come and join us today, huh?
He's guarding the coffee cup pretty well over there, and that's what we do. Is we actually have a cosplayer who dresses as adult Groot, and he built as a 7-foot. It's just amazing. He walks around. It's glorious.
Tell us about what we have.
These are from our second and third superhero 5Ks. This event's attached to the Southwest Family Advocacy Center.
Okay.
They serve Avondale, Buckeye, Goodyear, and Maricopa County Sheriff's Office. Second year was was Batman.
Okay.
Our third year was Thor. So Brett Stewart, who runs Adventure Fitness, makes these And in the 3 years we've done this for Southwest Family Advocacy Center, we've given them over $15,000 cash for their center, which has led to wonderful things for them in training and helping these children and buying much needed supplies that they just can't, especially for kids in play therapy, the clays, the pencils, the pens, help them be creative. And we're very proud of that. This year, April 9th is our 4th Superhero 5K. Flash is the superhero. Can't believe it took us 4 years to figure that one out.
And you brought some other props here with you today.
Yeah. And what I tell people, what we look for all the time is just a superhero action figure, a Barbie doll. Because these are it depends, $5, $6, $7, $8.
Yeah.
And people say, what good can I do with this huge problem of child abuse? You put one of these in the hands of an abused child, you would change their lives.
Right.
And yes, it is that easy.
It is.
It is that easy. So we have people donate these by the hundreds. We have a storage locker full of them, and whenever we get contacted, we will donate those to the centers in need who don't have any. Because even the therapists use them as an amazing tool to get the children to open up to them.
So who are your crew?
My crew is called Put on the Cape Cosplay.
Okay.
What I wanted to do, the cosplay culture is what we see at the Comic-Cons.
Okay. So who are the characters that you have in your crew?
Oh, my goodness. We have Star-Lord and Gamora. We have Groot. We have Captain America, Supergirl, Black Widow, Wonder Woman, Supergirl, Flash, Hercules, Thor. All of the mainstream, Batman, Batgirl, Robin.
Are you in character?
Maybe.
Okay.
Maybe I came about the shield in some way or not. But what I did, yes, I dressed as Captain America in one of my shows because I wanted to see the event through my folks' eyes.
Right.
And what I did is I combined the best elements of cosplay in my cause, and I called it cosplay. And I trademarked that, and I trained them. They're all FBI background checked and level 1 fingerprint cleared. Okay. And they have to take adverse childhood experience training to be a part of my group.
Sure.
So when we're dealing with children, we know how to approach and talk and act in public around them.
And you're sure that you're working with good people.
Absolutely. Yes. And I am. I'm working with some of the most creative minds. Nate and Casey and Matt and Jamie are on my director and
you guys,
teams.
When you have your team meetings, do you guys schedule time to play?
Oh, it's all play. I mean, we have a ball. I mean, our Christmas party's coming up next month, and they're just amazingly creative, giving people. It's just, and some of them make their own costumes.
I'm sorry we couldn't have some of them come here today to join you.
That would have been fun, and they probably would have. But
you know what? You do all this, and we applaud you and we thank you for all that you do in our community, because you know what? It's all of our job to make sure that our children are safe. We applaud you and we thank you because it's all of our responsibility to take care of our children.
It is.
But Mr. Reavie, I know that you have been recognized for what you're doing in the community also.
I have.
Tell us about your nomination for Who's Who in America.
Well, I got home one day and had a letter on my desk. My wife dropped it there, and I didn't know what it was. It said Marquis Who's Who in America. And I opened it and said, congratulations, you've been nominated to be part of Marquis Who's Who in America in the entrepreneur leadership category. And so I looked them up. They've been around over 100 years. And some of the greatest minds and achievers in the country have been placed into this organization. So I'm like, someone's joking me, clearly. And so I contacted them and went through about a 90-minute interview process with a lot of questions. And once I completed that, I was contacted and told I was accepted.
Wonderful.
So
congratulations.
That was just a humbling moment. And again, you mentioned community. The community, this is the community's foundation. This award belongs to my community because they're the ones rising up.
Right.
I just had the idea.
Yeah.
And luckily for me, I had people of greater intelligence and vision than myself join me and say, we're doing this. Here's a check. Do whatever you need. Here's an event venue. And the organic grassroots nature of this foundation is what's led to this recognition. And it's humbling for sure, but I want to make sure my whole group understands it's because of them. Right. I'm just the focal point because it's my crazy creation and crazy drive.
And I'm sure they understand that and know that, but they know that you deserve that as well.
Thank you. It was very humbling.
Your organization has also been nominated as one of the great nonprofits in 2021. Tell us about that nomination.
To earn induction into the great nonprofits nationally, you have to have a series of people sending in stories of how the foundations affected them and have 5-star ratings across the board. And we accomplished that. And so we were given that opportunity. We were inducted into that society as well. And that just tells people that we do what we say we do. You know, everyone on my board's a volunteer. Everyone who on my cosplay team's a volunteer. That money that comes to us goes right back out to the advocacy centers. Right. And we're working this year to be our 3rd year, and that's when we start qualifying for administration grants, which will be able to, because everything else is out of my own pocket right now. And that's the way it's going to be until someone says this money's for you to build your foundation. Right. Because that's a promise I made to all these folks, and we're going to keep it.
And I'm sure that's going to happen soon. I'm sure it's going to happen
Indeed.
Soon. Do you have any upcoming projects?
We do, several actually. We're doing our winter series of events. The first one is November 27th at Dylan's Barbecue Western Fusion event up in Wickenburg. It's a junior rodeo that we're going to be a part of with our superheroes. On December 4th, we are taking families of each advocacy center who've had a terrible time this year with their child being victimized. We're getting their Christmas wish lists, and we're going to Five Below in Peoria, and we're getting everything for those families so they can have a happy holiday. December 11th is our 2nd annual Muscle Car Superfest at Fat Turtle Barbecue in Cave Creek. And
good eating
it's so good. Just because he's got it, the smokers go when we get there. I'm like, good Lord, this is going to be a tough day for me. And December 18th, we are in the Fiesta Bowl Parade. So we have a lot of wonderful things happening right now.
Congratulations. So where can our audience find you?
www.putonthecape.org. All of our events are listed there. And Facebook, Put on the Cape. We're also on Instagram, Put on the Cape. And it's just such a fascinating thing for me to see something that just came to my mind is now so tangible. Yes, and it's everything I wanted as a child to have something like this.
Wonderful. It's such a blessing to all.
Thank you.
And it was such a pleasure to have you here today.
I had fun. Thank you for shining a light on what we do.
Thank you. And thank you for joining us here today at Desertwood Days, and we will catch you next time.